Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm wearing my house coat because it's cold up here. Catherine, it looks like you're cold too.
I'm freezing. It's really
Oh,
cold here.
oh,
And
that's too bad.
the fog froze on the roadway, so it was an eighth of an inch of skating ice on my dog walk this morning.
Oh, that's dangerous.
I
That's
walked on
dangerous.
the gravel on the side of the road, which is not as much fun as you might imagine.
Well, I was imagining it wasn't any fun at all. Um, okay, so it's cold up here. Annie and I both have colds, and our refrigerator stopped working yesterday. So we're gonna have to do a little troubleshooting this afternoon, and then I'm sure have to get a pro in to fix it. Both the freezer and the ice box stopped working, so it's probably the compressor. So it's very close to just getting rid of the refrigerator and buying a new one. So
But it's a brand new one,
what's that?
brand new one, right?
Oh yeah, well that doesn't matter anymore. What Kevin? What's important is they got their money. That's what's important.
So
You
I
know, the old
I have I don't know what kind we have. I think it's LG. I asked the repairman in a parking lot one day. It was making noise. How much it would cost to fix it, and he says, "Just buy a new one."
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And if you buy a new one, it's just a crapshoot too. It might last 2 or 3 years and then it falls apart. It's not like the old days when things were actually built well. I don't get it. I don't get it. This our house is rather difficult with that, as you can imagine. We've got problems with the water. We got problems with the fridge. We got problems with the dishwasher. We got problems with the furnace.
Set fire to it and move. It's the insurance
Yeah,
money.
right.
My mother-in-law has one of those fancy refrigerators. I can't remember what the Sub-Zero, and thinking that you spend a lot of money, it'll last. No, huh?
No, none of this stuff is made well anymore. And the more computerized it is, the less reliable it is. Just like cars.
So are you aiming to not have class today because you don't feel well?
No, we can go ahead and have class, but we're going to have a short class. So one of the things I was thinking of, I meant to do this yesterday, guys, and I'm fighting this cold. It's actually getting better now, but uh, and my head's just not working right. But one of the things we talked about yesterday was Shuling Dingjing Qi Chen Dan Chen, and that's we've talked about it before, and we've done some work with it. But I really wanted to emphasize how important it is. It's how can you say? Um, I don't think either of you guys have pianos in your homes, do you? But you can imagine if you've got a piano, you have to keep it tuned up, right? The piano has to be tuned, or the songs you play are maybe not as good as they could be. Um, this is the same thing. It's what tunes up your body. So one of the ways you can think of it is if you've ever done any archery, if the string is too tight, you can't even pull it. All right. If the string's too loose, it doesn't do any good. You can't fire an arrow. It's just too sloppy. All right. It has to be tuned. It has to be just right. All right. So it's just like that in Tai Chi too. And this is how you tune your inner string. All right. So shu, to repeat what I said yesterday, shu means something insubstantial. Ling means to lead it. Ding means upward. all right, kind of pushing upward. And Jin means energy. So it's the energy of leading the intangible parts of your body upward. This is Kevin will know this because he's done enough investigation and research in Tai Chi to have heard the phrase "suspend your head top." This is actually a phrase out of Yang style Tai Chi, not our style of Tai Chi. And I don't mean any criticism of Yang style, but the whole idea of suspend your head top is like to become a Christmas tree ornament. All right, so there's somehow something above you is pulling this up, and it keeps you light. But that's wrong. That's a force from the outside of you doing something to you. That's not what this is. What it is something growing up from your Dan Chin up to your crown chakra, your Ba Wei, right? Sort of on the top and a little bit to the back, the Ba Wei, which might be considered the end or the high point of the spine. And you're bringing that energy up from inside. Think of a tree growing up, right? A tree's growing up here, boom, boom, that holds you up. At the same time that the trunk of the tree is growing up, the roots of the tree are growing down. So one is coming up and the other is going down. And it's the awareness of that keeps your body tuned up. And then on top of that, so you wanna sort of practice that. Hold on. You want to practice that mental attitude in your body at all times. Like everything else, maybe there's a week or a month in your practice where that you really focus on that. And yeah, I'm really working on coming up and going down at the same time. And after you've done it for a while, it just becomes part of you. The trick that can really help this, because you don't want to do this so much physically as mentally and energetically. If you do it physically, you're going to try to stretch yourself up and you're going to try to stretch yourself down. It's uncomfortable. You should never be uncomfortable in Tai Chi and Qigong. So it's not so much that you do it physically as you do it mentally. And where your mind goes, your Qi will follow. So what's the trick to doing it mentally? Well, Shu indicates the mind and especially the spirit. And those are associated with fire. Where does fire want to go? It wants to go up. You don't have to make it happen. It happens on its own. So you simply become aware of that and of that imagery, and there will be an upward going force inside your body. What is it that goes down? It's your Qi that goes down from your dantian on down to the ground. So what is Qi associated with? Water. Water's heavy. Water wants to go down. Fire wants to go up. Right? Fire go up. Water go down. Right? So you just hold that imagery and something starts to happen in your body. It's subtle at first, but the more you practice it, the stronger the feeling gets. Now there's another level of this when you bring it into your Tai Chi. Yeah, I'm getting over this cold. When you move up or down, you use those energies. All right. So So, how to explain this? You expand and contract. You expand and contract. When you go down, remember how the other day, last couple of weeks, we've been working on when you move in one direction, something has to move in the other direction. All right? This is the same thing. So if I'm going to go down, something has to come up. What's coming up is Shuling Dingjing. So as you go down, there needs to be an awareness that something goes up. So I'm going to physically go down, but inside I'm going up. So when I'm going down, there's still a kind of stretching going on. You can see it more plainly if I do it the wrong way. And lots of people do it this way. Watch. This is the wrong way. I'm exaggerating, but only a little bit.
But that's because you're looking down. But if you don't look down, I think.
Lots of people do that.
But I can see it, even if you don't look down, it's just, I can see the stretching when you do it because your head is
exactly
higher, getting higher.
Exactly.
Going higher.
Lots of people, when they do Tai Chi and Qigong at first, when they go down, they look down. Now, there are times you do look down, but you still, even though you look down, you have to be aware of that, and you don't. What happens is people collapse. All right? It's like if you were pulling a bow and arrow and the bow just broke. And now you've got two pieces of bow with a piece of loose string in between them. You won't get anything done that way. All right? So even though, my chi is dropping down, but my shoe needs to go up so that I don't collapse. Yeah, Kevin.
I can't remember her name, but she was back in San Francisco. Would bring in the bowling ball and would show you that the bowling ball is about 12 pounds. This is what your head weighs. And when you move your head out of alignment, then it just throws you down to the ground. It's pretty crazy that when we did that.
Who was it? Was it Linda?
The Alexander lady.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah. I can't remember her name. Janet. Yeah, exactly. Um, you simply lose your confirmation. Now, I should say too, this is not just a matter of being pretty. This is a matter of being pretty. When you do your Tai Chi, a lot of the beauty of the Tai Chi comes from this tuning inside. There's a string that goes all the way through, right? Or a cord of energy that goes through. And you want to keep the tension on that string correct so that when you pluck the string, you get a good note from it. But it's more than that. It's also functional. I wish I had Adam here, but remember what we were doing yesterday, right? Where he was grabbing my arm and starting to twist, and then I would twist out of it and pull him back, right? I'm going to do it the wrong way. This is the way most people do it when they first start trying to do it. And when you do it the wrong way, it won't work. Watch. They just collapse. It won't work when you do it like that. It'll do something, but it won't do what you want it to do. Now, watch me do it the right way. All right? if you're going to put power down and back and backward, there has to be something going up and forward. Forward on this side, back on this side, up. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now that's all about going down. What about coming up? Well, when you're coming up, you are going to rise from the dantian to the top of the head, right? And when you do that, something needs to go down. So you're going to drop your chi, all right? So I go down. If I want to come up, what's going to lead me is my mind is going to come up and lift my shoe up to the top of my head. The Bao Hui acupuncture point. Bahui. Bao Hui. All right. Now it shouldn't be stiff. Your movements don't need to be stiff or mechanical. They can be very organic, but you have to have this awareness in order to do it. Now, you don't want to bring your chi up at the same time. This is the mistake in the opposite direction that people make, is they bring their shoe up, but they also bring their chi up. What happens if you do that? All right? It's called floating. All right? You're not touching the ground anymore.
Yeah, that's because you're not grounded. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So you have to remember, when you follow your shoe up, you've got to drop your chi. So in other words, you're basically doing the same thing when you go up as when you go down. So what that means is, when you go down, you stretch this. When you go up, you stretch it.
So it's the
Shoe
same.
goes up, chi goes down. Right? When I'm going down like this, I don't want my shoe to drop down. That would be collapsing. So the chi goes down, but the shoe goes up. That's stretching. When I come up again, the top stretches up, but I don't want the bottom to come up, because now I'll be ungrounded. So that has to stretch down. So what happens is, you have to stretch the cord every time you go down and every time you come up. So it's almost constant. Stretch, 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 stretch. Every time you move your body, you have to stretch it.
So that means that only when you are at the still point, you don't stretch it?
When you're at the still point, you don't do any stretching. You just relax. You just come into the center and relax. All right? So what it means practically is 90% of your motion is going to be stretching.
Mm-hmm.
You stretch when you go down, you stretch when you come up. What's different is whether you're focusing on the chi or the shu. When you go down, you really focus on the chi going down, but there has to be that countervailing force going up. But most of it's going down, a little bit going up. When you come up, you're focusing on the shu moving upward, but there has to be a little chi going down. So you can think of the chi dropping down as yin and the shu going up as yang. That's one way to look at it. All right? And When you go down, you focus on the Qi, it's yin. When you come up, you focus on the Shu, it's yang. But in both cases, the other side needs its due. You need to do a little bit on the other side. So when you do a move like the first move, stretch up, stretch down, stretch up, stretch down, stretch up, stretch down, stretch up, stretch down. It just never stops. Now, where's the still point? Well, the still point should exist in your feeling all the way through that. You never lose the still point, because if you do, it's another form of getting ungrounded. You get uncentered. And when you're uncentered, you will be ungrounded. If you want to get grounded, you got to get centered. So
that means that the Shu and the Qi both come from the still point. It's why you're feeling it all the time.
Another way to say it is yin and yang come from the still point. That's what Hunyan means. Hunyan is the state of being before you separate yin and yang. Mm-hmm. So you can say it's the still point. Yin and yang come from the still point. They don't come from anywhere else. They come from your inner still point.
To follow Catherine's point, where does Shu come from then?
Shu is spirit. Oh, now you're talking about, now you're going cosmic on me, right?
No, I don't want to go cosmic. I want to stay. I want to stay. No. But because for me it's too difficult. I want to stay here with Tai Chi.
All right, so I understand. Let me say one thing. What we're talking about right now is our personal still point. But the personal still point is also cosmic. It's the still point for the universe. Right?
Yeah, okay, but when I do my Tai Chi movement. No, but Kevin is right. So where does the Shu take roots? Where is it?
Where is your Shu? If you think of Shu just as what we would call spirit, your spirit comes from and actually exists on the other side of the still point. All three of us right now are living in the relative world. You know, tall and short, left and right, yin and yang. Yin and yang is really relativity theory. Right? There are things relating to each other. It's relative, right? And we are all relatives. The still point is a doorway to a different dimension that is not relative, it's absolute. That's where the Shu is. So you can say the Shu comes from the absolute and manifests within the relative. And that relative manifestation is what we call the human spirit. It also could be the dog spirit or the plant spirit.
You lost me.
It's very simple, right? You know, in Buddhism, there are two truths, right? Two truths, relative and absolute. That's the same thing. It's the same thing in Taoism, relative and absolute. And
yeah, but in my Tai Chi movement, in
your movement, you want to know where your Shu comes from in your movement.
Yeah.
Well, your Shu comes from you. You have a physical body, right? You don't have to ask where that comes from. It's right here. All right. You have a mental body. You don't have to ask where that comes from. It's right here. All right. You have an energy body. You don't need to ask where that comes from. It's right here. You also have a spiritual body. You don't need to ask where it comes from. It's right here. Is it related to this point? Yes, of course. If you want to, when you listen to music, let's say you're listening to some classical music, a piano piece. People maybe naively think that a musical score is composed of notes. Well, of course, it does have notes in it, but it also has silence in it. It has the space between notes, and maybe some spaces of silence that is actually quite long, very deliberate. When you look at a painting, every good painter leaves some space in the painting for the eye to rest. At least every good painter I like. It's the same thing. That's the still point, the silence is what makes the movement or the noise make sense.
Mm.
So
It's,
when we do
it's
Tai
the,
Chi,
it's the rhythm you give to the movement, your personal rhythm,
yes,
the way you translate it. I mean,
yes, every movement, this is true. It has nothing to do with Tai Chi. Every movement begins in non-movement and it ends in non-movement. You could call that stillness or silence. Those are words we use. They mean the same thing. If you're a baseball player and you're going to hit a ball, when you're swinging, wow, that's a really active motion. But watch the hitter before he swings. He's still. After he hits, he's also still. It may only be for a moment, but he touches on that stillness both before and after. Every athlete does.
Okay, so I get the still point. I get the yin and yang coming out of the still point. What the hell am I raising up physically? You know, not.
You mean when I'm raising my shoe?
Yes, sir.
I'm not raising anything physically. You're not
it's
raising anything
internal,
physically.
Kevin.
Yeah, you're raising your mind and your spirit. They're not physical. That's why they say shu ling ding jing. Shu means something that's not physical. It's intangible. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just not tangible.
And no
It's
wonder,
not physical.
wonder I'm not getting it.
Well, look, it's very simple.
If you think that way, I'm too analytic. You got to let go of some stuff, and it's just not.
Kevin, it's so simple. There's nothing intellectual about it. The only thing intellectual is the words we're using. It's your mind. It's your thoughts. They're not tangible. They're not physical. All right? Your spirit. Are you saying you don't have spirit? Do your spirits not go up someday? And then maybe you get some bad news and then they go down? Of course, everybody does that. Right? Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. One of the whole points of Taoism is to understand that that's going on and go, well, I'm not going to go up with the ups and I'm not going to go down with the downs. I'm going to ride in between, conscious of both things. Both of them are dangerous. Going up with all your ups, oh, we're up and up and up, you get ungrounded. When you go down, 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 now we would say you lose your spirit. So what you want to do is go, well, if I do that, that's not good. And if I do that, it's not good. What if I do something that's neither one? What if I take a position, oh, okay, no, I'm not going up and I'm not going down. I'm just going to ride straight through. You know the story of the Chinese farmer, right?
Mm.
Right? Yes, Kevin? Kevin, can't hear you.
I don't remember it at the moment, but I think you've said it before.
You should listen to that story every day. It's good for your head. Right? The story of the Chinese farmer is the Chinese farmer loses his horse. The horse runs away. All the neighbors come over that night and they go, oh, well, that's too bad. And he goes, maybe. The next day, the runaway horse comes back and it brings 7 wild horses with it. And all the neighbors come over that night and they go, oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? And he goes, maybe. The next day, his son is trying to ride one of the wild horses and tame it, and the wild horse bucks him off and he breaks his leg. And all the neighbors come over that night and they go, oh, that's terrible, that's awful. And he goes, maybe. The next day, the officials from the army, the imperial army, show up and take all the young men from the village to go off in some foreign war and fight, except for his son, because his son has a broken leg. And that night, all the neighbors come over and say, oh, that's wonderful, isn't it? And he goes, maybe. The Chinese farmer was not going to go up with the ups and down with the downs. He was just going to go straight through because he's smart enough to understand this is how life goes, up and down, up and down, up and down. So you've got a choice. You can either go up and down and up and down and up and down all the time, or else you can just ride through.
Let's ride through with Trump.
There's a lot of truth to that. Trump's going to be bad. All right? But what are you going to do? Are you going to get all upset? Oh, Trump! Oh. Well, that just makes everything 10 times worse. You just have to realize what goes up must come down. What goes down must come up. Don't go with it. Just ride in the middle. It's not easy to do. When you're faced with problems like Trump and everything that he represents, it's really hard not to get depressed. So one of the things you should do is talk with your friends and keep each other's spirits up. Okay, now to get back to Tai Chi. What, Kevin?
Well, that's what I wanted to be. I didn't want the esoteric. I wanted the Tai Chi part of it.
Well, you are asking esoteric questions. The truth is, there isn't really any separation between Tai Chi and these quote unquote esoteric things. It's all the same thing. All right. When you are lifting your shoe, just think of it as bringing your mind up inside your body. Your awareness. There's nothing esoteric or weird about it. You just, instead of focusing your mind here, you bring it up to here. Simple. Right? When you're lowering your chi, don't think about, well, I'm pushing my chi down. No, don't do that. Just take your awareness and go from here to the bottom of your feet.
We could have saved 10 minutes if you just said that.
I answer the question that I hear. So if I hear it wrong, you're gonna get a 10-minute dissertation. All right. But just remember when you move, all right, to move your mind up to the top of your head and down to the bottom. Now, the difference between this approach and the Yang style approach is this approach is all internal. Nothing outside you has any control over this. Really. You're in control of it. So it's not like you're being suspended from up above. It's you're lifting something from inside. There's a difference between those two. What's the difference? The difference is agency. Agency, meaning you are following your own will. You are expressing your own intention. When something is doing this to you from the outside, you don't have agency. Something outside you has agency. You see what I'm saying?
Now, a while back, you told a story about Annie losing her balance, and you said, "Put your awareness on your bottom of your
Yeah.
feet."
Yeah.
Well, I've got that down pretty good. Now I need to get this part and see if I can get them together.
Really, it's actually quite simple. There's nothing weird or esoteric about it. However, the thought about agency brings all this back to the story of the Chinese farmer. What the Chinese farmer was saying is, don't let life's up and down, their ups and downs, rule your spirit, because then you just become a plaything of fate. You've lost your agency. Keep your agency. You know, I'm not. Good fortune is not going to make me crazy like this. Bad fortune is not going to make me down. I'm going to keep my own agency and not give it to whatever is taking me up or taking me down. All right, guys, that's it for today. Plus, I'm losing my voice. All right. You all have a good day. We'll see you next time. Ciao.